production, Godspell, is based on mostly the Gospel of St. Matthew. And there's a point in the play where in one stage production, the director has an actor cry out, "I can't see, I can't see." And all the other actors rush around her. "What's wrong? What's wrong? Why can't you see?" And she playfully, gleefully cries out, "I've got my eyes closed." It's one reason we can't see. We decide to close our eyes. Today, our gospel talks about blindness, and it has several layers to it. One essence of blindness is natural causes. The fact that something has happened and we lose our sight, or like the man in the gospel, are born without sight. And so Jesus heals him. And it's important to note that, again, healing is accompanying the proclamation of the kingdom. Part of the good news is that Jesus wants to heal us. And so we continue with our parish mission in the sense of praying with each other and for each other for healing. Body, mind, spirit, relationships, memories, whatever it is. That we are a community that prays for healing with each other and for each other. And so Jesus heals this man born blind. It's kind of an enigma because, according to the scriptures, it's never happened before. In the Old Testament, we have Tobit being healed of his blindness, but he wasn't blind from birth. It happened for other reasons. Part of the questioning from the disciples is, who sinned that this man was born blind? That was the thought of the Jewish people. That if something was going wrong in your life, it was because of sin. So if you had any kind of a malady, if you had an illness, if you had lost a loved one, you were a widow, an orphan, if you had broken relationships, if you were in poverty, if any of those things, the Jewish people believed was because you had sinned. But now this guy is born blind, and so the disciples are saying, "Lord, who sinned that this man was born blind?" They're thinking it should be him, because usually when you sin, bad things happen to you. But now they're questioning, how could this man have sinned before he was born, that he was born blind? So then maybe it's the sin of his parents, but that's not usually the way it works. And so they're questioning Jesus. And he confronts that thought. The bad things happen because you sin. He said, neither he nor his parents sinned. It was so that the works of the glory of God could be shown forth. And that makes them see things a little bit differently. But in Scripture, when we deal with sight, we know that it has also a meaning of spiritual sight. So that when Jesus is giving somebody visual sight, he's healing them, it also is a sense that they also now see things clearly in terms of God. So they now see also with the eyes of their heart. And we know that this man professes his faith. "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" Jesus asks him. "Who is he, sir, that I may believe?" "You have seen him here and here, eyes and heart. You have seen him, and he is the one standing before you." And the man says, "I do believe." And he falls down and worships him. So now we get that sense of the spiritual sight besides the physical sight. But then we get the people who, like that actor in Godspell, choose to close their eyes. We get the scribes and the Pharisees. Here's a guy that's been blind from birth. I would think that the minute he regained his sight, people would be happy. "You can see? You can see me? You can see everything? That's great." No, scribes and the Pharisees. "Well, it shouldn't have happened, because Jesus cured him on the Sabbath. So he's got to be a sinner." They even question the man again and again about it. And he tells them explicitly. But they refuse to see. They have closed their hearts and hardened them. He said, I think this guy's a prophet. Well, no, he can't be a prophet because he healed on the Sabbath. He did a work on the Sabbath. He said, you know what? You guys tell us that God doesn't listen to sinners. So if this guy was a sinner, how come God listened to him and made me see? And they just kicked the guy out. They don't respond. They have no response. They're closing their eyes of their heart and saying, I refuse to see. And then in this Lenten season, we also have another sense of spiritual sight. And that is, how do we see ourselves? I know how I think people see me. I know how I want people to see me. And as much as I can tell, as I look inward, I can see myself. As much as I can tell. But there's more there. There's more there. How does God see me? How does God see my heart? When He looks in, what does He see? And it's not based on the externals. We heard that in the first reading today from Samuel. That here we're looking for a new king for the Jewish people, and it's got to be this one. It's got to be this one. It's got to be... No. And finally God says, man does not see as God sees. What does God see when He looks in? So you can't judge by the externals. There are people that look at what I say and what I do. They hear my words, they see me pray, they see me at Mass, whatever. Do you know there are people that actually think I'm holy? Could you believe that? But what does God see when He looks in? Through our Lenten journey, through our prayer, our fasting, our almsgiving, whatever it is, however it is we're trying to mark Lent, we can always ask God, help me see my heart. God, help me see as you see. What am I blind to there? Is there a goodness that hasn't shown forth yet? Or God, is there something blocking me from you that I can't see or don't want to see? Blindness, being able to see. There's a lot of layers there. But we have some time left in Lent. That if we want to, we can take a good, hard, honest look inside. And aided by our Lenten devotions, God can show us things. Things we need to see. Things we need to understand. Things we need to change. Yes, we can all be a part of that prayer. I once was blind. But now, I want to see.